is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome to the discussion for Tekhenu Obelisk of the Sun, which was actually a highly anticipated game for me because Teotihuacan, and I'm pretty sure I'm just butchering this name. It's probably Tekhenu. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. After, because we've played Teotihuacan quite a bit, Kat and I actually just played it the other day. What do you guys think of Tekhenu?
I like it, but I think I like Teotihuacan more.
Yeah. How come?
This just feels like it has even more going on.
Yes, it very much does.
And, I like strategy, but this is a lot to manage. Because you got, this thing does stuff for half the shit on the board, and then, I actually completely forgot about cards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This one... Well, before I comment on that, Kat?
I agree with what Josh said, except I like
Teotihuacan.
Jeez. Teowabu. I like it more just in general than this one. I didn't really care much for this one just because to bounce off of the there's a lot going on thing was there was just a disconnect where sometimes I would be reading clearly oh, the god actions, yes, I know exactly what to do, and then I would glance over and I'd be like, but again, how do I do it? Because there's stuff that it looks conflicting in the moment, and you're trying not to hold up the game, and it got a little weird in my head for me, and then by the time I feel like it's with these games, by the time I feel like I maybe figured it out, it's the end of the fucking game, and I'm like, yeah, okay. So it was just visually also, it was just too much.
Yeah. I agree with both you. I think Teotihuacan is a more streamlined, cleaner game, but I still really like this one for different reasons. And the good thing is because we just played Teotihuacan, I can clearly articulate why. Teotihuacan has individual sections that you can easily look at and be like, I know what this tile does. This is the technology tile. This is the pyramid tile. This is whatever. That if on my turn, I pick a die and I move it 1 to 3 spaces. Yeah. And once I land there, I just do that action. And that's so clean. And visually, the games, I think the boards always look really, or the cover art is really good.
Yeah.
But the boards are just extremely busy. I don't think this is ugly. I think it's just Euro designed.
Yeah.
Whereas they have the people and they have aesthetics to show, hey, this is Egyptian. And the icons are Egyptian like, same with Teotihuacan. The icons are Mayan like. So I like that they do that, but you can just very clearly tell, okay, this is a spot, this is a spot, this is a spot, and it doesn't really have anything to do with board aesthetics. But with Teotihuacan, it's just there's I think 8 total locations, and while that might sound busy, there's 6 here.
Yeah.
So there's actually less actions for you to do, but I feel like there's so much more going on.
Mm-hmm. There's the complexity of picking if it's a positive or negative dice, and then having to weigh your scales so you're not punished later. Plus, overflowing of resources causes negative balance.
Yeah, because in this game, the dice do so much more.
They do a lot more.
Like Teotihuacan, it's literally just the strength of your worker. Oh, this is a level 4, so I have a chart here. There's 3 dice here, or 2 of my dice here, so boop, I get 4 stone. That's just if you go to the quarry. And here, it's like, okay, I am picking up this 6 yellow. Well, it's a 6, and I took it from this god, so this god, because it's a 6, I have to spend 3 paper to take 3 cards. Oh, wait, it's not just any 3 cards. Wherever my population marker, that tells me where I can take cards from. And there's 3 different types of cards. And not only that, because this isn't a worker, you have no workers in this game. It's like, or I can just take this and it was a pure dice, so it goes in my pure spot, with a value 6, but I want to produce with it.
So I get 6.
It's like, so I get 6 paper, but I can only produce 2.
So 4 negative.
Yep, so 4 negative, well, depending on where I'm at. And to do that, I need to worry about this. So this, Kat will be able to attest a little to this more than you. This game is closest to a Vital Lacerda game than I've played that wasn't a Vital Lacerda game.
Yeah,
His games are like, because in all reality, this game is weighted at a 3.96 out of 5 on Board Game Geek. And it's like, when you're playing it, and when you're like looking at your turn, I just pick a die and I decide what to do with it and do a god action.
No.
It just makes it seem like it's the simplest thing in the world. And even when you're playing it, I never feel like it's just like, at least for me, it's just like, I don't get this. But at the same time, you also have to understand that you're not just picking a die. Whatever you're picking has 4 other things that you have to keep in mind of what you're going to do. And this game, more so than Teotihuacan, has... Now, I will say, this has more avenues to strategy. I think this has more variety than Teotihuacan. I mean, especially because this doesn't have an expansion. Because Teotihuacan, it's like, okay, do I want to go up these tracks? Do I want to collect masks? Alright, that's pretty much it. Do I want to build the pyramid? That almost feels it. But here, it's like, man, I can go for decrees, I can go for pillars, I can go for buildings, I can go for this, I can go for, building buildings, statues, I can go for so there's just way more avenues that, I don't know about you guys, but whenever we play Teotihuacan, I'm like, I'll try to go for this strategy this time. Here, I was like, no clue.
Yeah.
No clue where to start.
Yeah. I tried to find a avenue, and then I was like, I think
the real strat to decide at least where you should go is off the decree card that you pick.
Yeah.
Mine was 5 points per statue built for the people, so I was like, okay, I know how to build for the people. I'll build over there, and I'll build over here. But then I'm like, I get more points with pillars so that I just went the raw route. Rah, rah, ooh la la, and just didn't even touch cards, didn't build in the for the gods or anything like that.
That's what I went heavy on for mine, because mine's 2 points per workshop or quarry built.
Mm-hmm.
The other one I had was 3 points per food and papyrus workshop. I had
gain 3 victory points per workshop, so bread and papyrus.
So had I just moved,
if you just
took all these, yeah.
Yep. So
I would have had 15 points instead of 10.
Gotcha. Yeah, mine was score the temple complex again, which wouldn't have been horrible. I think this netted me more points. And Kat's was gain 2 victory points per statue and 2 victory points per building around the temple complex. Did you literally have the same statue and pillars inside? You was literally, I had almost the exact same decree.
Yeah,
but I love decrees. I love endgame objectives, secret objectives. That's one thing.
It's definitely helpful.
Mm-hmm. And what I also really like about this game is that it's not just this is your only one. You could easily go a card route and try and gain more decrees. And it's like, great. Now, and you're limited, though. You can only score 3 of them, but you can gain 5 and then play the field.
Because then you have your options.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I don't know what that one is. Is it 3 points per scribe?
Per leftover scribe.
So
you can just go a scribe, try and just keep doing him.
Bastet.
Yep. But yeah, so here I think the main difference is the whole central theme, of course, is this obelisk. What do you think of the obelisk mechanic?
It's interesting. I don't know if you necessarily need to do 16 turns, but the game wasn't super long, though. But
yeah, it was because I was looking at the time and I'm like, man, it has to be at least 2 hours, two and a half hours. It felt like, but I think the way the game is structured makes it feel longer than it actually is.
Yeah.
Because whenever we were like, 2 rounds equals a rotation, yada yada, they broke it down even more in the in the rule book.
I was actually banking on going last because it took me the whole turn rotation plus some to make up my mind on what I wanted to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it basically, one game equals 2 scorings, 4 mat faces, 8 rotations, 16 rounds. So 16 rounds is essentially each turn. Each player gets to do 16 turns. And when you break it down that way, you're like, man, that's really not a lot.
Well, because you hear 8 rotations and you forget to factor in that you times that by 2 literally because and so I think when we broke it down and we heard the 8 rotations, we're like, yeah, it's actually not that bad at all.
Yeah, man, I'm
But
excited.
then once you hit that 16th one, like for me, I know it was getting a little obvious and I was trying not to be so obvious about it. But like after a while, I was just like, the dice are not going my way and I'm running out of things to do without going in the hole, like without just totally ruining myself.
Yeah, I mean, you made up for it with the faith, which I like that
Thank
they have
goodness,
that
yeah.
option
That
because
was
it's weird. The dice rotate in a pretty consistent manner. Whatever we use will come back out. So at the beginning of the game, there is never going to be more lost dice. But every rotation, you reach in number of players and roll those dice, and it's only in the shaded. So I actually thought that was pretty cool because when we were looking at certain locations, and it's like, man, how the fuck do you get scribes? Oh, Bastet. Well, crap, he has no dice. But then the next rotation, he immediately got dice. It was always, I thought it flowed really well with this mechanic. I actually like it quite a bit because not only doesn't matter in terms of rotation and who's going to have actions, pure dice and tainted dice, but also for Raw, his mattered more of the color.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone else mattered for color.
No, I don't believe so either.
I don't even think the darkness mattered. Yeah, I mean, literally just the darkness mattered for Raw. But each location had something that connected to something else. For example, what the fuck is his name? Horus. None of us did this. But
I kept trying to, but I'm retarded.
Well, the thing is you look at, like, once I took, because I kept taking the turn order thing, which I really like that these kept coming out as a little bonus. I kept going for the one with gold, and then once I needed gold, I was like, man, how the hell do you get it? Because once these are gone, it's either build in the 4s, or you build in Bastet. But then you have to bank that people do that. Mm-hmm. And once people do that, oh, gold. So that, like I mentioned, that reminded me of the scythe mechanic where it's like, okay, I'm going to, do a population action, and anytime my neighbors build a mech or whatever,
after you upgrade it.
Yeah, upgrade, thank you. It's like, then that mine has a heart, so I get a population anytime here someone builds a mech. That's what that reminded me of, which I like. I like actions that you gain something for other people doing things. Any negatives? I mean, besides the fact that, of course, you guys didn't really care for it too much.
I would say just like the biggest negative for me is just like the length of the game. The board is just not my style. It is such a mess to me.
I was going to comment on that. Yeah, that's a very good point.
That's the biggest one for me because this is just how I work. Like if you see my desk at work, I have all of my papers and like even my pens and stuff. It is all in a pile. Like everything is in an order. Like if anything gets like askew, I don't like to work like that. I start to get weird. This is too much for me. I don't like how it's laid out.
Yeah, everything is concise and has its place on the board, so it's not like a bunch of shit all throughout the table.
Yeah,
and it's all organized on your player board. But you're right. When I was initially looking at the setup, they have a colored chart.
Oh,
right there,
look at that.
Like god actions, and where they're at point to where they do their actions. But it's so.
Their specialty actions, like especially this one intersects because this is literally any of those, both of those, here and here.
Yeah.
Because you don't know where the cone is on the
exactly. So it's like when you look at Hathor, and Hathor is supposed to be for that's where you build the buildings around the temple complex. Yeah. It's just like, but the way you look at it is just like, I guess it does that, And it's this whole corner.
It's this corner, but also Raw's stuff goes here.
Yeah.
So it just goes straight up, but then
you have to jank it over to the right. And then even whenever you're looking at, like, because the player aid is really not, it just tells you what you do on your turn, but then it's like got actions, but it just gives you a synopsis of what it does.
Yeah.
But the problem with this is that it's like, okay, like if I'm gonna raise a pillar at the temple complex, okay, I get that. And then you're supposed to look at the iconography of the top one, and then it's like, okay, so I put that over there. For each building, I get a certain number of points, and it's not intuitive.
It's like when you write a paper, and you have your main point, and you're like, yes, main point, easy enough. But then you have like 18 little bullet holes or bullets under it, and you're like, oh god, jeez, this goes deep. Like
right, and like you said, the board can feel extremely messy when I feel like they could have done a cleaner way. Because with Teotihuacan, once again, sections. And you just move around. And then the only thing you have to weirdly be like, oh, something else, is with the tracks and the pyramid. But even then, it's just like, oh, okay, I do this action. That lets me go up on the red, or on the green temple. Boop. Okay, that's that. Or building the pyramid, you just move up, and the pyramid's the central piece of the whole game.
Then, I don't think it's that. Like,
and the only thing that this obelisk did was it was the turn order, essentially.
Yeah. It was the tracker in a way.
It was the tracker of time.
What I also dislike about visual, like aesthetically on the board, is first of all, it's ugly. Like, let's just call it what it is.
I don't think it's ugly.
I don't like the color scheme.
I think it's brown.
Yes, too brown. Now, getting into the brown, in the brown, you see like a bunch of those little dots, and you're like, oh, those are people. But during the game, it's just stuff. Like, it's stuff that I don't think needs to be there. I do not think it adds to anything.
I disagree. I think if this was just matte brown, it'd look uglier.
Maybe I
think it's at least aesthetically, like it's a very high top-down shot.
I'll give you that, yeah. I'll give you that.
I don't know if Tekhenu is an actual, like, place in Egypt.
It is. It's an obelisk. I googled it. It's pretty much...
Okay.
Because because Egypt's obviously not all a desert, because the Nile runs through it.
It's a desert and a river. That's all it is.
Yeah. That's it.
A desert, a river, or maybe a pyramid.
And, like, I don't know where that's geographically located, but I would assume that they could have picked a place that was more lush and colorful in Egypt.
Well, I think they wanted to go for the
authenticity of it.
The type of the fact that it's supposed to represent the sun is hitting this obelisk.
Yeah.
And in the desert, you're gonna
that's
the
true.
sun.
I see. To me, like the way the board's laid out, it looks like we're just like in the maybe like not the center, but like in a big part of a city, and the obelisk is like
you're building up whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't really give a whole lot of backstory.
I will say, oh my god, that art on the actual
the box cover. It's really good.
Amazing.
I mean, Teotihuacan doesn't look great either.
The board, no,
but the box cover does.
I visually mind it less.
It's just because it's cleaner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and Teotihuacan was what 3.69 at weight, and
complexity. This is higher,
3.9, and very much so.
Yeah.
Even with the modular expansion for Teotihuacan, it's not as heavy as this. This is an extremely heavy game. That very much gives me Vita Lasarda vibes.
I definitely can see why you say that, yeah.
But I think that's also why I like it. These games vibe with me. Some people don't like being like mentally exhausted after a game where it's just like they feel drained. I do. Because
you don't feel drained,
I feel challenged.
Because you're clicking it. Yes. No. No.
I'm like, yes, like that's why kids games don't really vibe with me too well, because I'm like, what did I do? I just sat here and just all right.
Yeah.
But
it's like doing a 100-piece puzzle versus
the versatility I thought was also really cool. The cards that we're not really talking about because we hardly did them.
Forgot about them.
Oh, that's another thing about. We're going to talk about. I'll come to the cards in one more sec. Board aesthetic. The way this obelisk, it's not really in the way, but it kind of is, depending on where you're sitting, because you were really just kind of focused on what you could see.
Yeah.
Like, from the way you're saying, you forgot about the cards, even though you can clearly see the row.
But I was also going for my secret objective, which is that
That's
corner.
true, yeah.
And Kat forgot about the pillars, because she couldn't see them.
It's just not like it's out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
I fall victim to that quite often.
But, and I'm not saying it's like this huge, annoyance, because it's not. I just think it's one of those, the board layout is just not user-friendly at all. But, with that being said, these cards, I think, are actually really, really cool, and a strong avenue for...
Points.
One for points with the decree, but also, like for the technologies.
Mitigation.
Well, the one mitigation where it's like there was one where Kat ended up doing a pillar action, and I didn't have to use the card, but then later on I was like, oh yes, it actually came in handy. I get to use my card to affect that.
Right.
There's some in here that are just like, when taking a die, decrease population and happiness by 1 to also take the opposite god action. So,
so on the flight,
so
if you were to take Boss Tet, you could do Horus.
You could do Horus at the same time, getting double production without having to actually go into the negative, affecting your die color. So if Kat was like, man, these dice aren't working, in my favor.
Yeah.
Like, I want to for whenever you took all the production for Granite, and it's like, man, okay, well, there's no black dice out, and it's like, well, this lets me take this 6, yellow and turn it into a black. And then lower it so I can get my color. So this gives you dice and luck mitigation and just constant bonuses like, when you perform an Anubis action, gain 3 points. When you perform an action using a die of a value 1, gain 2 points. What's this one? When you raise a pillar, always activate the ability of the pillar.
Oh, wow.
That's which I saw that. Now, what's cool is that these cards don't come out, or more options don't come out until someone hits population, but then only they have the availability. So population is also something to go for. One, it's endgame points, or not endgame, scoring points, and gets you a scribe, a gold, and
up to 15 points just for
going there. And I feel like the scoring abilities or the scoring rounds, you can ramp up pretty quick to build pillars or to increase your population or to build buildings. It doesn't really cost that much. What's interesting is statues get cheaper.
Right?
They get cheaper and then they go back up.
I don't know why they...
So normally in a game it'd be like, 2 granite, then 3, then 3, then 4, 4, then 5 or something weird like that. But no, it got cheaper. So because there's only 2 scoring mechanics, I think they, interestingly and made a smart move at making those high point systems, populations, buildings or whatever, easier to attain. Since there's only 2, it's not weird for someone to get 15 points off one thing. You got, like you actually, like you can get, I mean, it wouldn't be impossible for you to actually, if the first scoring round, get 12 points. And then maybe the second round, you probably won't get 12. But if you double down on this, then you can get another 12. And then so I think these cards are another way. Just increase your population. It's super easy whenever you do, God, I always think Hathors. Because you increase your population by the die. And whenever you have cards that let you mitigate the dice to make it, now it's a 6. Boom, now I'm just going to shoot my population up 6.
Yeah.
Which I thought, or not population and then happiness, because they coincide, which I thought was an interesting mechanic. I think the cards and the statues for the gods, building for the gods, were 2 missed opportunities from everyone, because no one did this and no one did that. I mean, I could have, but I might have a decree to build statues for the people.
I remember with building statues for the gods, that I was having trouble remembering how to build a statue for the gods.
Yeah.
And I kept desperately looking over here.
Yes, this is not helpful in any way, unfortunately. just because
It's
just not. It's nice quality.
It is, yeah, it's a really nice one.
But yeah, the God actions, they should have just made big player sheets.
Yeah.
Like to tell you what the steps of the God actions are.
Should have just made the player mats bigger
Could have done that too.
and put a legend on the side of it.
What you easily could have done is take this and attach that, like just make it a little bit wider to increase this, and then make a player aid of what the God's actions actually do.
Yeah, because I at one point I get to the point where I'm like, I have probably asked this like more than once, and I feel embarrassed because it's like I also want to do other things, and by the time I come back to wanting to do this, I've forgotten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't say this game is icon heavy. It may look it, but
At first glance, but the icons they're minimal and they're repetitive. So yes,
by the time
is-
you're just like, oh, that one means any resource.
Yeah, which is how you want a game with a lot of icons to be.
But they also do the icons, and then they explain what the card does, and then they do luckily put a what do they call it, appendix at the back to clarify. So the rule book is done very well. Board and dice, they make excellent rule books that I don't think you're confused by whenever you read it and you're like, okay, time to play the game. I think that's pretty much it. Did you guys think there was anything that was unbalanced?
No.
No, I don't think there was either. I think I just happened to have a consistent flow of points.
Yeah.
Yeah, most certainly. I lost points in the first round.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing if you take high negative taint. But it's not. I think it could be worse. It could be Great Western Trail. Where you just have to keep...
I won't even think about that.
where you have to keep selling in Kansas City.
I'm at 5. Seth, what are you at? Oh, 106.
Well, you sold to Kansas City 20 times, so you got negative 80 points.
I can't move up.
I keep selling these weak, mad cow disease deer.
Deer! They're not even cows! I just paint spots on them!
Yeah, so I think the penalty for being negative is really not that bad. Or the penalty for not paying for bread. Because I thought it was interesting. If you actually built all your buildings and you get 5, 8, you get 10 points. And if you can't pay for bread, it's -3. So you can actually not pay for 3 bread and still get a net of 1 point.
That's called working the system.
So I think the penalties really are acceptable.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
so
I think I said
What do you mean I have slave labor and I won't feed them?
And they're
I still want
revolting.
my money.
They don't need food. They need work.
I like this game. I think this is if you're expecting Teotihuacan, you're going to be sorely disappointed. Same company, same weird T name. They are not even close to the same. If you're picking between the two, depends on your group. If your group only plays Vila Lasarda games, this might be right up your alley.
Also, who are you?
Yeah, that's your only collection. But the weight of the this is definitely like a 4 out of 5. But still not like, I have no fucking clue.
Right.
It's a 7 out of 5.
7 out of 5. So speaking of scores, Kat, scale of 1 to 10.
I think on a personal level, I never know what
These
to...
look like peepees.
It's a 1.
For that comment, this is a negative 1.
For that sinful...
Oh, and one thing we did forget to talk about was the Anubis action.
What the fuck?
That
We didn't even do
no
him.
one
Yeah.
did. I did.
I did.
I think I did once, and you did once.
It's the only time I had 2 scribes.
Right. I think I used my 2 scribes and never got any after that.
I was gonna say, I used all of mine, and not for him.
I love so I love the scribes because that's even more dice mitigation. And I actually really like the draft setup. Like they took the same thing that they did with Teotihuacan, where you get those starting tiles, and that's where your dice start, and then also the resources you start with, but you draw like 4 and pick 2. This you do I think a round robin draft. I always like that because it just gives you more versatility than first player starts with this, second player starts with this, third player. I just kind of like that. But anyway, just had to bring those up because I looked down and I was like, oh yeah, the Anubis action. And also because you could take a 6 that's doomed or whatever and it doesn't count.
And it's not bad.
And you're like, great, thank you, Anubis. You judged me rightly. All right, Kat.
I do deserve to go to hell.
I've slaughtered many a kids.
Just for fun. I think I'm gonna give it a 5. And I thought really hard about that. And it's not. And I want you all
Get out.
to know. It's just because I would not recommend this to anyone because I would not play it again, to be honest. Unless Seth asked me, and then I would do it because I am a good sport. But like,
I think there's only one game that Kat will never play again with me.
Arcadia Quest.
No, I think
There's two.
I think you'd play that game again. I think you would give it another shot.
Versus.
Huh?
Like, what's the one I won't play?
I don't think you'll ever play Feudum with me.
Fuck Feudum. I would play this before Feudum. That is true. Let's give it. I'll give it a 6. Actually, I'm teetering between
It's
like
above average.
Yeah.
because I'm really having a hard time between like should I give it a 5 or should I give it a 6? I'll just round it up to a 6. I don't think it. I guess it doesn't really deserve a 5. I'm not excited.
But you rate games based off your personal opinion, which is how I rate games. Like Devin rates games just kind of blanket the game.
Yeah.
Like, oh well, it does exactly. It's a 10 out of 10. And I've been telling him, I'm like, dude, if you hated the game,
Yeah.
rate you do a combination.
I mean, it's how like I miss Netflix used to do the star rating on like how much you liked a movie, and now they just do thumb up or thumb down, and I'm like, that's too
Boo.
vague because yes, it's always about it's like I try to rate them like I rate movies. It's like would I want someone else to watch this? Would I watch it again? Like I said, and then I'll drop it. I just don't want to play it again, personally.
But you would play Teotihuacan
Yeah.
again.
Yes. That's more my speed. That's more. But we also know how I feel about Vita Lasarda games. Like,
Yeah.
I don't jump for joy when you're like, on Mars!
That's
Did he do On Mars?
He did do
Okay.
On Mars. On Mars is probably the most complex. No,
CO2.
CO2 is the most
And
complex
we
game I have.
did not play that with you. We left
No,
that
me
to
and
you
Steven went full. We made Rain Man look normal when we played that. Oh man,
I'm gonna use my engineering degree.
It's co-op. That's what makes it a little less heavy. But it was me, Kat, Steven, and Crystal, his wife,
And we
and
just left. We were like, you know what?
Steven and I were just like, okay, no, you guys need to do this so we can do this, and we're just like, you know what, just get out.
We're like, you know what? The man's finger is on. Like
We went just crazy on that.
and they were fine with it, and we were fine with it. But yeah, that's all. Give it a 6.
Josh?
I honestly can't remember what I gave Teotihuacan.
I think it was a 10.
I definitely didn't give it a 10.
I don't remember what
I don't think you gave it a 10 either. I think you gave it a 9.
Oh, did you?
If
I'm pretty sure he gave it a
I've-
pretty high
Pretty high
score. I
score.
think it
I've-
made your top 10 when you kind of redid the list.
I
it was
think
like
I gave
10 or 9.
I want to say I gave it a 9. I'm gonna give this an 8.
Okay.
Okay.
It's a step below Teotihuacan in my opinion. It definitely has qualities that could be better, but as it sits, I would play Teotihuacan over this any day of the week. I do like Egyptian theme because
Yeah, I mean, surprisingly, you knew way more than
Yeah.
I thought anyone knew about Egyptian theme. Even people who study it.
Egyptologists.
I played Assassin's Creed.
I played Assassin's Creed.
No, like
I watched The Mummy.
I was raised Christian, and I really liked the stuff about ancient Egypt and like all that stuff. So I just kind of stuck because I like the mythos of it.
That is fair.
It's very, very rich in like their gods. Like they do have quite a few.
Yeah, whenever we looked up that list, I was like,
Yeah, like you forget
Whatever.
and you don't realize because for some reason
I kept thinking this was Sekhmet, and I'm like, no, that's an alligator
I
crocodile.
know there is one.
I feel like there's a
Because
different
there's a
cat.
game called Kemet, which I hate, but they had an expansion where it's a one versus many, and it's Set. The god, the one is Set.
Okay.
And it's pronounced, or it's written as Seth, and I'm like, ooh, but I think it's pronounced Set.
Is that a
and
cat?
I have no idea what
God,
it
I
is.
feel like there's a different cat.
Yeah, I want to say there's another cat too.
I think Set's a serpent.
I think you're right. Josh, I'm actually going to agree with you. I gave Teotihuacan a 10.
Nice.
I would not give this a 10, even though I really like this game. But it has a few shortcomings that I can't raise it above an 8. Because if you're going to have a game this complex, but the board is
this messy.
I don't think that's the thing. It's not all over the place, but it feels it like it is, and that's the problem.
I don't like how like this could have easily been like the whole thing could have been shifted just a little bit.
Yeah.
And this whole corner could have just been this, and then this and this could have been combined.
Yeah.
Almost like maybe it was like
What they almost
design
could have
flaw.
done is maybe they tried and the design failed, but it almost feels like this could have been its own central piece,
Yeah.
and you have different sections that are their own separate boards. That the cards are on their own board, but maybe they tried and it was just too weird. Because there's no set design of how this gets. You randomly just kind of set this in here, and then just whatever,
And then break it.
and then break it like I'm doing.
Turn it. It's upside down.
No, it's not, Cat. Oh yeah, here it is. There we go. And then you just kind of randomly start, and then you just go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's the first scoring. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then that's the second scoring.
Yeah.
But yeah, and for what you mentioned about theme, I don't like Egyptian theme. I don't know jack shit about it. I knew Ra, and the rest I was like, okay, Bastet, increase happiness marker. Okay.
I definitely only knew like the main ones, like Horus, Ra, Osiris, and
I didn't
then
even know Horus.
and then maybe Bastet. I just knew that there was a cat.
Yeah, I knew Osiris rang a bell, of course.
Osiris was
Anubis.
Anubis
I forgot.
rang a bell.
Yeah. Everyone knows Anubi.
And then I know this is pronounced Ankh. I've heard people pronounce it Ankh,
And what's
I
it
almost
for?
want to stab them.
What's the symbolism for it?
It's to lead people to Jesus Christ, the one and true God.
No, it's to lead people to Moses.
I have to Noah.
To know.
I actually have no idea what the symbol
I
is.
can't remember.
I don't know anything about Egyptian theme or lore. I just know that I don't even know what they believed in when they died. Oh, their riches. Something about riches.
You get buried with all your belongings, and the more belongings you have, the more likelihood you are to go to like heaven.
Gotcha. So the rich get richer.
And the poor just die.
But whenever you break it down, and the board, and once you kind of get into it, I actually think the turn structure is extremely unique. I like this, not necessarily rondel, but this obelisk. I love the avenues to victory points. Like, one thing that I always like about these types of Euro games is because we've played Euro games before where it's like, figured out the strat. I will never not play this way, and now I've lost all interest. The latest one I can think of is Crusaders. I will be done. Yeah. We played that with Devin probably a year or so back, and I found that engine, and I was like, why would I not do this? Because everyone else went different routes, and I'm
I think
like,
we were all there.
oh yeah,
I think I played Crusaders also.
yeah, it was us four, and then I was like, well, everyone went different routes. So clearly this one was the better one, so I will never not do this. And then I lose interest. I'm like, well, this game has nothing else to offer me.
Yeah.
This game does not have that. Like, I see so many different paths to victory. Teotihuacan is the same, but that's cleaner and easier to play. But still has that same level of thought that this game gives. Not as deep, but also it doesn't have to, you know? So, that's not a negative, but that is board aesthetics. And intuitiveness matters, especially in games like this. So, still, 8 out of 10. I'm right there with you, Josh. I would obviously play this again. I would easily just jump into this one, just like I would jump into a Vita Lasarda game. But if I had to pick between the two, and slowly we're going to be going through the other ones. I won't play Trismegistus without you because you've played these. And then we can kind of rank them. The new one about the Incan Empire, which I know even less about.
Oh my goodness.
Called Lake Titiwana. Tawantin Suyu? I want to sue you?
Racist.
Tawant.
Canceled.
They've announced another one, I think.
Can I see the word again?
Are they only gonna make games that start with T?
Yeah.
Is that their
Yeah,
thing?
that's their thing now.
Is this like a code?
Because they have it's the same designer.
Tawantinsuyu.
Tawantinsuyu, yeah, something like that. Daniel whatever, this guy, he made Zulkan, which is about... Oh, that's Mayan. So same designer, different company. But there's Zulkan, then Tekhenu, Teotihuacan, Tawantinsuyu, and I'm pretty sure they announced another one recently. That was another T.
Texas,
yeah, the state of Texas.
Great state of Texas.
So I'm excited because they all seem innovative. The one thing you can at least say is like, well, if I have Teotihuacan, should I get this? Yeah, they're radically different games. Just don't expect this to be as easy to learn.
You're right. Different levels.
Different levels. But if you're like, well, we've kind of played Teotihuacan a lot, and we kind of want a higher level of thought. Yeah, this is definitely the next step. And apparently, Trismegistus. That was the other one.
Yes, you said that, and I was like, oh, he cast a spell.
It's alchemy. So same
That's
company.
Satan talk, boy.
Hell yeah.
Not this Bible fear.
So yeah, I like it.
Neighborhood.
So 8, 8, and
6.
6. I almost said 5. All right, you guys got anything else?
Do we want to know what an Ankh is about?
Oh yeah, what's an Ankh?
Since I pulled it up, let's just see. It is the Ankh, or Key of Life, is an ancient Egyptian hieroglyphic symbol that was most commonly used in writing and Egyptian art to represent the word for life. So it was a symbol of life.
Gotcha. Neat. All right, so that's our thoughts on Tekhenu, Obelisk of the Sun. Let us know what you think of the game in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.